Somebody can unmute and let me know.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So we are mainly concentrating on this particular aspect, okay, in today's session, the symbol table. Now, if you recall, while the assignment in SIS2 course was given to you in respect of constructing a similar, one important major part of it, like talking about different data structures used by the assembler. So we said there would be something called opcode table, there would be something called symbol table, there would be something called literal table. Even we thought of some error information table like error table and so on. Now, major stuff in respect of implementing such kind of system programs is to define the data structure definitions for the sort of internal information storage matters. Kind of say, for example, what we said before a while as symbol table. Now, if you recall in System 2 course, while we talked about translating IA62, IA32-bit instructions, we got idea that there is something called mod RM byte, there is something called scale index byte, okay, as well as the information about all mnemonics is stored, and we saw even like through the Intel manual like how exactly the opcode will be picked, correct, or how exactly the opcode is defined. So some of the opcodes we saw that dedicated opcode is there, okay, and depending upon the operand, the register number would be added into that opcode, correct. For example, when we talk about increment or decrement kind of instructions, okay, we saw that only two formats would be there: increment register or increment memory. Correct. Now, and even other way around, right? Increment. Say for example, the address. Fine. So let me take a sample code. Emacs 1.asm. So let me type in this section dot text global main increment EAX. Sorry. So let me replace this ECX, EDX, EBX, ESI, EDI, ESP, EVP. And let me take one element here, section dot data. Okay, we will take section dot data. Okay, A DB. This is the sample. Okay, so let me write this and we will try to see whether is it going to generate some error for us. Fine, so let me write nasm-eflf 1.asm. Okay, so it is giving us error with respect to line number 15, which is last one. Correct. So let me include here section.bss a1 recipe 10. Move EAX comma A1 and I am writing EAX. Okay, now let me go to this LST file. Let me generate that LST file. Now see this. Now if we carefully see with respect to each increment instruction, okay, what what can be seen here, over here? Depending upon the register that you are passing, 40 would be default, say for example opcode for increment, considering EX to be the first parameter. So we saw that in the opcode the register number is added. So we even came to know that registers are represented as numbers, okay, through Intel manual. Correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, then ESP, EVP, okay, and then ESI, EDI. So one can see this order. What are the number that you see after 4 is the register number 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then, like when we got to know, like if the operands do change, ultimately, so this 40 was kept as it is. Correct. So even if I write this way, because it is only assuming that a value is moved, it here it doesn't know what is value of EX, whether it is a value or whether it is address. Correct. In this case, when I type in this way, ultimately it knows that from that address, value is to be picked and then it is to be incremented. Correct. Now when we do see this kind of stuff, how exactly this is managed inside? So we definitely need to know now opcode table. In one of the session, like I showed you how the symbol table can be captured, correct, through readlf or lm kind of instructions. But now if I have to capture this translation, what are the translation that it is carrying out, how exactly this is stored inside the assembler. So it is not easy job rather to find out this information, but like definitely we will require some kind of mechanism which will help us to really translate this code through the source, through NASM. Now when I change this order, correct, now if I try to write say for example A1, it may not be permitting me to do so. Now what might be the reason behind this? So let me go to this and NASM. I don't think I have added Intel 32-bit manual. So let us take this. Oops. Let us wait. It is giving some problem. Restart. Yeah. Now if we go to yeah, here, correct. So like it really mentions over here like the instruction format will not change whether it is 32-bit or 64-bit. Correct. Like majority of things are same. Only changing parameter would be, okay. The changing parameter would be what? Changing parameter would be in terms of the registers that you use. Fine. Now in 64-bit, what happens is like your registers are going beyond EX to EDI. They are going beyond this. So every register, the way that we saw in Intel rather, IA32 rather, which was like starting with say E, correct. Now when I talk about say 64-bit, I can see that there is something called RAX. So E would be replaced by R now, correct. So what are the general purpose registers are EX to EDI, they all would be, this E would be replaced by R, correct. Now let us try to see this. Let us save this code, and now I am not writing this. status. Okay, so line number 20. So we will write FLF 64. Fine, and now let us see this p.lst. Now you may see your instruction format is suddenly changed. Correct. If you recall, EX, ECX, EDX were containing something. Now you have some more thing which is added. Now this possibly could be, looks like an instruction prefix. Correct. Even one can see over here. Now it is telling, it might be telling us, okay, you are talking about 32-bit value, and here you are talking about 64-bit value. Now when I try to debug this code, okay, let us generate -g -f dwarf. Okay, not available. -g, then let us write this 1.0. Yeah, so it will require some more changes in the code because we cannot directly write the data. So let us go to source code. I will remove this. Okay, and let us see. Yeah, so now if I write gdb ./a.out breakpoint main, then run info all registers. Now you will see that these are the 64-bit registers that are added. Okay, so your regular registers were RAX to RABP or RSP, kind of like RAX, RBX, RCX, RDX, RSI, RDI, RBP, RSP. Now there are few new, like 8 again are added, starting with R8, R9, R10 till R15. Now these are the additional registers. So totally general purpose registers are used as 16. Okay, 8 plus 8, 16. Now when we do talk about these 16 registers, there is a major change in this architecture change as well. Okay, in respect of like working with function calls. Like if you recall in 32-bit assembly programming, whether you are referring to LLAP course or whether you are referring to your system 2 course, we saw that while making use of system calls, what we did was we always used EX as a system call holder. Okay, and EBX, ECX, EDX are the first, second, third parameter for the system call. Now, when we do talk about same thing in respect of function call. So function call we saw we used to always push the values. Now what happened was, like in 64-bit architecture, they made a huge change in respect of this difference between system call and function call execution. Because even if you are calling a system call, ultimately you are giving call to write. Say for example, the system call. So for example, let us try this. 2.asm. Let me take section dot data. We'll display this. This is the string, and we'll write len equ $-mhg, and we'll use section dot text global main. Now write system call is 4. Sorry, move EBX where exactly you want to display. So 1. Move ECX what you want to display, MHG. Okay, and move EDX is len, and then use to specify this. Now what happened is, like when we do say I want to display this message in my code. So for a while I am removing this dash f dwarf dash f ALF 32. Okay, I went which was added by us. Oh, sorry. Line number 16. Oh, sorry. I took 1.asm only. I should have taken 2.asm. That's why it is giving an error. GCC 2.o dash M32 okay, dash G dash F dwarf. Okay, now if I run this code, I can see that I am going to display that string this way. So it was a write system call. So if I see now this stress, I can see that this is a function call given, correct? And I haven't pushed the values, but I passed the values by parameters. Now what happens is, like if I have to make use of a system call here, a function call here, say for example, let me do this. So I am writing here extern puts and I am saying push msg call puts add esp comma 4. Okay, and if I now try to assemble my code, if I try to link my code and if I execute, you may see that I have displayed this. Fine. Now if I try to execute this code, I can see that it is displaying me both the outputs, correct? This is a string, this is a string. But while I do talk about this code, this was my first write which I executed earlier, okay, and my second write is this one. So this write was a system call and this write was the function call, correct? Now what is different between these two? If I carefully see here, that slash n and slash 0 were added directly and size was taken as 18. While I use puts, it removed that slash n part, or though it took it, but rather it never talked about slash 0, correct? Now if you see here, it added slash n here and it added one more slash n there. Now what might be the reason here? But now if this could be definitely part of your puts function, but if I see from the system side, in both the cases, write system call is used. In both the cases, one was the system call explicitly and second was the function call. Correct. Now when I see this at the lower level, like the way that we are seeing now, there is no difference. I may not be able to tell explicitly here what is used. Correct. So for example, let us do this again, one another method. So let me write here now printf push msg call printf add esp comma 4. Okay, now let us try and execute this lesson gcc. Now if you see what happened, whatever the extra slash n that was taken earlier is not added here, correct? So it automatically took it. Now if I fire a stress, you may see what happened was this 17 was added as it is. Here one extra character slash 0 was picked because of your write system call. It is automatically considered that whenever a string is passed to the functions as in a parameter, it end of line character is assumed. It never is printing or considering that part. It is always assumed to be taken there. But puts implementation is, though it is applying this, it always neglects it in earlier case and prints it one more time. So when I say neglects, it tries to print it, it displayed it, because if you see, this is what it printed, correct? Same thing, this is what it printed. Now if I see the difference between them, this is 17, 17, this is 18. So I am not able to tell now which is printf and which is putf if you don't have source code with you. Correct? Now how exactly this would be managed internally? I definitely need to know. So what happened was this difference was taken care by this 64-bit thing. So it removed this compulsion of, say for a while, int instruction. Int instruction is replaced by something called a syscall. There is no push. The register order is fixed for the function call. So if I try to search, say usage of registers for 64-bit assembly code handling function call. So let us write this with, yeah. Okay, let me not go with Microsoft. Now if I go to this, okay, sample code which is given. Now let us take this example. Here I want to call this printf function to display this hello world. Correct? Format and message. Correct? Format and message. Like how will you write printf hello world? Or you may write say %s and then hello world as a message. So when you talk about this, see the order, how the order is used. RSI, RDI. Similarly, if I go again to next, see this thing. You wanted to print something like this, okay, through your code. Now see the values which are added. With ROX it is having something, RDI, RSI, RDX, correct. Now if I try to compare this with respect to the kind of mechanism which is applied along with in 32-bit code, the push instruction for function call is completely removed. All parameters will be pushed, and like in 64-bit I cannot see any push related to the call. Registers are used to hold the parameters, okay, no matter whether I am talking about system calls too. So let us see if we can get system calls. So let us, it is not available here, so I will go here, handling. Let me write now here syscall. So int 0x80 is replaced by syscall. Correct. Now you see this order. Okay. So let us search for syscall. Yeah. So this is with respect to working with a system call number. So Rx would be holding the system call number. Correct. So if I go here, this Rx is holding the system call number. So this order of register is always fixed. What parameters that they are going to contain. Okay, so that the way that we saw with 64-bit, 32-bit programming, for example, if I go with my program, I specifically said that EX will be used to hold register, EBX would be first parameter, ECX would be second parameter, and EDX would be third parameter. But when I go to function call, I do use push without using specific registers like this. Now this difference of handling functions, whether it is a system call, whether it is a function, so this is completely removed. Correct? Because every function call would be replaced to what you call as kind of system call if appropriate definition is there. Otherwise it would be used or executed as a dynamically linked code. But when we have to design a translator which would act like for both the architectures like 32-bit as well as 64-bit, somewhere I have to patch up the things. Correct. So I cannot always keep this kind of separation of function calls and system calls all together. So how will I handle them such cases? Correct. So I will add few 64-bit programs today on our Moodle course site by today evening, so that you can get taste of like how the code is written. I will add a function call, okay, to printf, as well as I will add a system call which is equivalent to write. And then you try to compare both, like what is happening. If I pick a 32-bit program and if I pick a 64-bit program, if I see them side by side, ultimately the difference of implementation can be easily seen. Usage of stack is only for mint of storing temporary values. The call function is automatically taking care of, with help of this register, all the parameters which are passed to the function, whether it is a function call, whether it is a system call. Because ultimately, like what the system call says, we do say that this may be a best mechanism to interact with hardware directly. Correct. Now, if I have to define operating system, I do say an operating system is interaction between user and computer. But like, was it the complete definition? Probably no. I definitely require a mediator which can understand my language and which can translate to whatever the language my architecture demands. Now, when I say architecture demands, how do I know what my architecture demands from me? And that's why, like, while you purchase any device like hardware or say laptop or CPU, at that time you definitely see like, okay, what kind of architecture or processor that I am planning to purchase, whether it is 32-bit or 64-bit, and depending upon it, I am deciding which operating system I should install onto that. Now, either of the operating system may work over there, but what would be my achievement in such a case to get through it? Like in respect of getting the ideas of what applications are to be installed and what applications are to be rejected, not to be installed. So sometimes, like you might have seen, while I tried translating the code, I somewhere got an error. Like for example, if I try to write this, so it is giving me some kind of file format. Okay, because I am trying to make use of this FDR, which is not fitting in respect of this 64-bit architecture. This file format is not meant for that 64-bit thing. So if I remove this, then ultimately my source code would be probably getting accepted. But again, if I see over this, if I open this code, okay, 2.asm, this 2.asm or 2.0 was created using 32-bit file. Okay, like if I see here, so I need to write here 64, and when I do this and if I try to write, in this case it is talking about my data part. Now there is something called as position independent code, PIC. Okay, and there is something called position independent executable. So when I do talk about this PI object, I don't care where my data is going to get stored, but when I try to see what is difference that is coming up here with my file, okay, so I have added data and I am making use of something which is not fitting with respect to what my architecture demands. Correct. So for example, if I go to now 2.asm and let me do this. I'm putting everything on comment. Okay, and let me try assembling the code and let me get it. Still, if you see what it is trying to tell me, cannot be used with when making a PIE object, portable, position independent executable. When I'm trying to generate it, it is giving me an error. The reason probably could be with respect to the relocation of the data element, because I am talking about a PI, position independent code, but my data is forcing me, section.data is forcing me to do something else which was not expected to be done or handled by my code. Now how can I work with this part? So let me put this even in comment, everything, or okay, we'll write this as 3.asm. I will remove everything from here, okay, and let us try to assemble now 3.asm, and let me generate 3.a. Now if you see what it did, I haven't added any line in my text, correct, 3.asm. But while I am trying to make use of the system calls, okay, my system calls were what? It was meant for 32-bit architecture, and that I am trying to create, I'm trying to create say executable for a 64-bit architecture where EX should be holding this and this INT80. This was the major issue with respect to this, because 64-bit architecture is not going to permit me making use of this 0x80 directly, because it handles it through syscall. Now when this kind of assumption is there, like while if at all a file is given to me, how shall I check whether the file is can be translated by me in respect of either an object code or in respect of either an executable. So every file format, when we say is going to have some file header, it contains one more thing. Okay, so let us talk about what is stub. Now let us check this. Okay, when I go to say Emacs kind of editor, okay, suppose if I try writing Emacs 1.c, sorry, Emacs 1.c, fine. Now when I type main and put bracket, suddenly you saw that color got changed, and when we see here, it is telling me that you are making use of C abbreviation. Correct. So if I go to Emacs 1.py, so if I use some function here, okay, suddenly you saw it changed thing because it is talking about this Python. Now how is it dependent on the extension that I am adding, or it is having something else to read for? Emacs looks to be very intelligent editor in some sense, which is interpreting what exactly you are trying to type into the file. Now when we do say this, ultimately every file would be having some information in its header which will be helping the program to understand the things, and that's what this error was described through that stub. Stub holds the information. Like for example, recall, I don't know whether have you used Windows 98 or XP kind of OSs. So when some games are to be loaded, it always used to verify if it is a DOS game, then ultimately I always required a virtual machine created for the DOS game. I could not directly execute the DOS based game rather on Windows platform. Correct. Certainly same thing was there when DOS was there, and if I try to execute a code related to this, then I have to install some device driver specifically which would be used as a graphics drivers. So which will permit me to see these to play the games. Now they would be containing information that this file is meant for this architecture. If you don't have support, then that error would be displayed. So though we call it as in generic way file header, but in some sense it is called as stub. And that stub always will help or hold the information about its basic requirement, what autoconf or configure do for you. Correct. Now what exactly they do? They will try to find out the necessary or necessity required to execute your commands. If I have to execute this command, for example, if I have to attend this session, then I definitely need to have Microsoft Teams account. having only Microsoft team accounts may not help me out. Somebody should add me in the team. Somebody should send me the invitation of the meeting. Okay, this is mandatory. Until unless I get it, so that means there is something which is called a step which is getting executed before a while. Because suppose, imagine this, suppose I haven't shared with you this team link, then ultimately you never could join the team. Okay. I might say, okay, join the Microsoft, our NASM team. Then you might have tried searching the team in your Microsoft team account for our organization. And then very easily you might have got it if I have written name as NASM SD3 or SPC. Suppose if I use something else which can be interpreted very easily, then it is difficult for me to find out which team I am talking about. So I definitely will require to capture the information. Correct. And how exactly I am going to capture the information? I am going to compare different sources available with me. I will try to check, okay, I will try to collect information from my friends. So have you started attending the session, say for example, OPEX course? Then when you identified, yes, can you let me know how exactly I am going to join? Correct. You must have seen on the group of Telegram group that we created for department. First year students are always joining a bit because their number of admissions are getting more than 100, 108 for example. Now when they are added, ultimately they are requesting, okay, how can I join the session? So then somebody is sharing, okay, why don't you go with this link and join? That means this information is given to the execution as an execution parameter to few programs which are executing successfully, and that information is getting passed somewhere in the architecture. Now suppose you are passing our NASM course link to first year students, so then they said that okay, this is the IP course, then suddenly he or she may not know whether I am not talking about IP or I am talking about something else until unless explicitly told. This information somewhere should be stored, and that stub really handles that information. So try to find out where this kind of error can be seen. Okay, with respect to the architecture, how it will identify that. Say, let us try, say, now I am making specifically the error. Now some errors are made by students like this. Okay, global main. Okay, so let me try assembling this code. Now line number 1 and 3. So let us try to, like if you see even, are they errors or are they warnings? They are warnings, correct? So if I try to make use of this, it is permitting me to execute. Correct. Now suppose if I try to write something important here, say for example, I am printing this text, push msg call puts add esp comma 4, and here I am writing extern printf, sorry, extern puts. Now let me try assembling my code. Sorry, let me try assembling my code. Okay, let me not worry about these warnings which generally we do. Okay, let me do this and let me execute my code. Now how it identified this? Like I have written dot text or the thing. Like if I try to get list of my symbols, I can see that main and image is taken. Correct. Even section dot data, section dot text, it took as T. Okay. This T is text. Okay. This T is text. This T is something else like my data section. So all of these are ticked as a part of my data section. But then how exactly it identified? Suppose if I try to generate now or try to see my dot out pipeless. Now let us go to section dot text. Let us go below. Now it says section.txt, correct? So am I able to see now txt? Okay, so it would be better if we go with grep txt. Okay, it may not permit me. Correct. Now it is, if I try to search txt, it is not showing that thing to me. But if I try to see now section.txt, even it is not showing the things to me. Where exactly now the txt went? So if I try to search now data, so it is showing me arrow data, correct? Then data, sorry. Now this data, correct? So let us see this. Now this data is containing something which is with respect to some message which is telling me, okay, you have to make use of this. So ultimately I am not able to see my section.data directly there. The reason behind is like I am not able to find out what the information was expected to be found. So similarly, if I try to talk about txt, I may not be able to get it. Fine. So this would be one error. Fine. 1 minute, please. Okay, so this is how exactly, like few things would be automatically considered by my code, which though I made a specific errors, it tried covering up my mistakes. Okay, this code I can easily see that my code it tried considering ultimately that way. So if I replace that a dot out now by 4.0 pipe less. Now you may see it tried covering up what the problems I actually wrote there. So I can see a name is written, there was a call given, and there is a message added. Were completely disregarded by it. Correct. It never talked about like though it gave me warning for both the cases dot data and dot text, but it definitely avoided showing me the error. It assumed that this kind of errors might be made by the users explicitly. Correct. And that's how it goes. Fine. So I expect you to find out such kind of problems. I cannot say problems, rather such kind of adjustments which could be possibly made by my program. Right? Try doing it. So you can even talk about like add a section.bss, and in section.bss define the variables using db instead of resb kind of thing. Use db and dd there, and then see what kind of warnings are shown or what kind of errors are shown there, and this will help you out to find out few more other types of errors which might not be easily captured by your system explicitly. Right? Okay. If you have any